Welcome to the Soulish Podcast. My name is Whitney Apke, and I'm your host. On the Soulish Podcast, we talk about the soul journey, the body, soul, spirit connection, and I share my journey as well as bring on guests. And today we have an amazing guest, Julie. She is just like the sweetest person ever. She has a book called Life of Love, a joyful guide to self and sensuality. And I just love her heart. Like this woman, from the moment I connected with her, I just felt such this warmth, this nurturing energy. She just has such a beautiful feminine essence to her. And she, the work she does is really to help us connect with that. And so Julie blends her master's in communication with her intuition, her angelic connections, and a love to write, create, and inspire. As one of us finds joy in being present in the moment, we shine for others to see the possibilities, is kind of her message and her purpose and why she does what she does. So she just exudes this just contentment, this fulfillment, this happiness, this excitement. She's so creative, and she's just kind of spilling over, and you'll see in the episode. And we talk about the feminine essence, energy, how to work with it, how to honor it, both if you're a man or a woman. We touch on relationships and sexuality and that understanding of the feminine. And she gives a little tip for all the men out there of how to switch things around when your woman is, just having a moment, an emotional hormonal moment. And her book dives deeper into that, of how you can really deeply relate and connect, even in spirituality, and how to honor each other. So it's really great. But we also talk about the divine, and she connects very much with her angels, her guides. And so they actually share some stuff with us too, even about dimensions and timelines and things like that. So this is an episode that was definitely in the feminine energy, because we booped and bopped all over the place. But it all made sense, and it was all for a reason. And so I just really loved this episode. I love Julie. She's just a doll, a sweetheart. And I want to have her back on to dive deeper into angel connection, guide connection, and how we can do that. Because I've had a few male guests who have talked about angels and their connection, but I haven't had a woman yet. So it would be really cool to get the female perspective on that. But she is amazing. Go get her book, download it. It's on Amazon. She just did an audiobook too. And all the links to connect with Julie are down below in the show notes. Definitely connect with her. She's amazing. She has a beautiful heart. And it was just such an amazing experience to be on with her and to connect with her and to chat with her about all things spiritual, feminine, all the things. It's so fun. So enjoy this episode. Thank you so much, Julie, for coming on to the podcast. This is such a privilege and an honor to have you here. And I just thank you for your time and honor your time as a guest. It's no easy feat coming onto a podcast and to share the things that you have on your heart to share. And I'm so excited, just because even before we've come on here and met, I just felt like this warmth, this nurturing, feminine, divine energy about you. It's just kind of like all around you. And so I'm really excited for this conversation that we're about to have on divinity and the feminine energy essence, and how to work with that, how to connect with that, how that influences us, whether you're, identify as male or female or non-binary, just how we work with that energy, because it is part of the world that we live in. And I know that it's not an energy that's always been given a place or been always honored. But we're coming around to that. I really feel like things are shifting, and we're not having to, like, elbow our way in as like feminine women, even, or even that energy. I feel like there's just kind of this natural space being made for the feminine energy. We're becoming more aware of it. So I'm excited for this conversation to dive more into that, and for you to share whatever you're getting downloads from. I know you work with your angels, and so super excited for that. And we honor them too. Thanks, guys, for being here. And guys is a general non gender term. Very
Oh,
Californian of me.
Whitney, thank you. Thank you for having me and your platform. I mean, I'm honored to be a guest and share this heart space with you. And, it's the synchronicities that bring us together that, it shows magic. And so I honor that and our connection. I mean, it's just this is really a great day and I'm so happy to be here. I woke up this morning, I'm like, this is going to be a great day. And it wasn't just because I listened to Snoop Dogg's affirmations.
I need to do that. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
Snoop
they're
Dogg
so fun.
affirmations.
Yeah,
Gosh, I'm
Snoop
starting
Dogg.
my days wrong.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg has created some kid content and he has a daily affirmation. He tells the children what an affirmation is. And it's just like, you can feel the love. Talk about the love from us. You can feel his heart energy and how he's explaining affirmations to the children. And it's just gooey. It's just
That's
so,
so great.
and 2023, we're supposed to connect to our inner children, our inner child. So if we can all find that and say to our inner child, our 4-year-old self, what's going to bring you joy today? That's what I'm about, is like you find that joy. And part of that is connecting to your femininity, your
Mhm.
divine feminine. And then the sacred masculine is also so important. It's a balance.
Yeah.
And we don't want to live in this yin or yang situation. We want to have that inclusiveness of everything.
Yeah.
Everything. We are one. It's the law of one. Everything is connected. So,
Right.
you know, that whole idea that we had to push in as feminine energy and the
Mhm.
age of feminism, and the parades where we're carrying these symbols of feminine power. I mean, that's all good, and maybe we needed that upshoot of like, this is
Yeah.
extreme, but
Yeah.
to me, there's sacredness in the silence of just showing love.
Yeah. Yeah. Because feminine energy is just being, it is just being present, being witnessed, witnessing. Like feminine energy is more in that flow and not so much forceful, penetrative. It's more of just like enveloping kind of energy. I mean, I know just the great women that I've ever known or been in a room with. I mean, you feel it, you know?
It's earth, it's calm, it's accepting. You just know you're safe,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
So good.
It's yummy, and we don't have to force it. It's in us. It's in us. And anytime you don't accept where you are, even feminine energy can be explosive and mother bear, right? Like, it's
Mhm.
all, we're all this. We're
Oh
rage,
yeah.
we're everything. And so, just that accepting of where you are and honoring that you are this divine source of love, you're this divine source of nurturing, and you chose to come here as a woman at this time. Like, that's a powerful thing. We have so much power. And like, okay, so you're saying you notice a change, a flux, and it's true. It's even astrologically true. Like, we're entering the
Mhm.
age of Aquarius, and the
Yep.
patriarchal systems are falling down, and so there's space for the feminine just to move in with grace, and
Mhm.
just honor that you can be powerful in your grace and your just ease. You're enough just because you woke up as a
Yes.
strong being of light, as a woman. And
Yeah.
it's just, and I honor every woman, I honor every man. Like, we need the men to show up too. I mean,
We
this
do.
whole homogeny of this is this, everyone's blending into everyone else. It's dangerous, because we need the feminine and the masculine. We need to honor both, even in
Yes.
ourselves.
Yep.
So nothing, your rage is needed, your peace is needed, everything is perfect. It's there for something. It's just our mission to figure out what we're supposed to learn from it, right? Like, if you don't like the state you're in, if you're feeling like crap, your job is to question,
Yeah.
say,
I think
what's going on?
that's a really good statement that your peace is needed and your rage is needed. Like and why is that? Sometimes I mean, I'm pretty happy go lucky and quirky and all the things, but there are moments where like, oh my gosh, I'm so pissed off. Like I'm so angry. I'm so mad. It's usually something around injustice, like whether it's for myself or it's for someone else. But a lot of the times I feel wrong in my expression of the
Mhm.
emotions that I have, because we're taught that that's, I mean, I grew up Christian, so it was like, you're always supposed to be cool, calm, collected, because that's how Jesus was. But I was like, Jesus flipped over tables. I always
Yes.
like would bring that up. But I think it's like, it's just, I think it's society and culture and, conditioning programming of, and even being scolded when you're young of like, hey, that's enough, like you've reached your max, bring it down. And so you can't fully have that cycle through of like, oh, thank God I got that all out, and your nervous system is only able to go up to here and you're not able to fully cycle through. So it's like, even in that, right? Even in that, in the nervous system and all of the things of how we express has been very much capped or taped or,
Medicated.
restricted,
Yeah, like
medicated.
whatever. Right. Yes.
Yeah,
And we haven't been free to do that. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, show your emotions, but not too much. It can't be too real because
right.
that's disturbing. But
Yeah,
maybe okay, so maybe you sort of unleash your fury and you're like you're not proud of how you did it.
yeah,
That's okay. There's
yeah,
power in saying, "Hey, I didn't show up the way I want to show up and I'm sorry how I presented my frustration. My frustration's still real and you can choose to show up a different way next time, but
right,
there's no progress in shame. Like
right,
you had that strong, it was an injustice. Like whether is an injustice about the overlay that is on our society that, we have all these templates of how we're supposed to act and the
right,
only way to get through them is to have some chaos, and maybe your
right,
emotion was the energy that broke up that network and it needed to
right.
be done. Like there's so many things we have no
So many
idea,
things.
but
And
just trust that that rage was needed, and maybe you
right.
express it a different way. Maybe you go to your room and you rage in the pillow and then you come back and you're able to say, okay, this is how I'd like to be seen or heard. But you got to honor it. I mean, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like I see a lot of like a lot of it is being done, or I don't know why it's just on my Instagram feed, but a lot of it seems to be based in like Australia where they have like these huge rooms, right? And everyone's laying on like their own mat. And it's kind of like people are just going through whatever the trauma is, whatever the emotions are that are stuck, limiting beliefs. I'm sure that's not all that they do in this, event or retreat, but you see just like some of the pictures and video is so it's so moving because they're expressing so loudly, and so it can't even be quote unquote aggressive. It can look so intense and so aggressive, and I mean they're not hurting anyone, they're not hurting themselves, but it's just like, it's almost like what you would think like someone screaming into battle like Braveheart style would look like. It's like they're going into war and they're yelling and screaming so loud and hard and just full on expression. And I just think, man, where are we that we have to go to a retreat to express that loudly, that aggressively, that strong, because we weren't able to express it in the moment, or it was wrong, or there's things that we have not released in time that we have to go to an event, you know what I mean, to express.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time that I love that we even have that option and that people are doing the work because it's needed, obviously. But my point is, I think for me, I'm ready to be in the place as a culture and society, spiritual community, where we are doing the daily work and we don't have to go to a retreat like that in order to express, but that we learn how to express in a healthy way that really helps release things in the moment, because that's when you can like I think experience like the full circle healing, even in that moment, like you're still present in the circumstance or in the situation or in the conversation, and you're able to express what you're feeling in that moment. I just feel like that's healthier, like there's a health to that, and it also teaches you long term how to express in the cycle. And I just I feel like that's the feminine energy, is like, yes, it's chaotic. Yes, it's peaceful. Yes, it's warm and nurturing, but yes, it can also bring the heat. And it's like, how can we honor that within ourselves and allow ourselves to express in that way in a safe container? And I guess experience that in a healthy way on the daily, because that's something that's needed. That's something that we don't have right now. That's something that we don't really even teach much, that we help people in big, auditoriums and maybe one-on-one sessions or group sessions, but we don't really help them to have a daily practice. We don't, as a culture society, instill that. So I don't know what you're feeling on that, and what, I guess, your experience, or if your angels are saying anything on any advice for us to, I don't know, how we can kind of shift this so that it is possible for us to express on the daily, to have more of a healthy expression of our feminine or of our feelings, what we're going through. What do you think?
You touched on so many gems there. I mean, when you go to those seminars, there's a space created,
Mm-hmm.
and you're saying, I'm here, I've created this space, and you have someone guiding you. But the whole secret is to be your own best guide, to be your own best friend,
Right.
to say, I'm going to take this space to connect with how I'm feeling today. I'm really own everything that's running through me. And it releases so much for everyone around you, because you've created this safe place for yourself, and other people can feel
It's
more
amazing.
empowered to be genuine, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're looking for. We're looking for authentic acceptance. And as soon as we can give it to ourselves, the sooner we can share it with everyone else. And that's the feminine wants to connect. We want to nurture. We want to bring out in others. And a lot of times I feel like so much of our programming has been, oh, you look for a affirmation from someone else. You make someone else happy, and you know you did the right thing because you created a difference. And then it's like this feedback loop where you're constantly looking for signs from everyone else that you're on the right track, that you're making
Yep.
everyone happy around you. And that's just like an exercise in delusion. And the angels are always telling me, you're, and this sounds pompous, you're beautiful and you're needed and you're loved and you're enough. And it's so funny because Snoop Dogg is he's bopping it. He's like,
So funny.
you're supposed to be here today. You are, you are the best person you can be. Like, it's just so good. So I love that culture is like coming around to saying, okay, you woke up this morning and your breath is needed on this earth, and that's enough. And then if you can give more that day, those are blessings. And the angels just, they're in delight. They're in delight when we can laugh and connect to our inner child and just have some joy. And so it's not about struggle, it's not about striving, it's just being present and just saying, hey, I see myself. And then I know that this is a struggle because I've gone through it. So I can speak on my experience. But in my book, I try to work through the different areas of finding your joy, finding your light. Even I have a word search in my book, so you can just circle. And if things resonate with you, you hold on to them. And if things don't, you just let them go. But there are ways to connect to your joy, and just make that space.
Yeah.
Just let yourself know that you're important enough to, if you consider yourself your own guru, you're gonna have the answers come to you. But you have to ask, you have to say, angels, God, source, whatever, please show me. And then I give people the words to ask for help in my book. So if you're, anything I say, if you're looking for a better diet, you're feeling like crud, ask the angels to bring you the healthy food that you need to be drawn to. And so I give the words to ask for help. So it's been an adventure writing the book and getting everything down that has changed my life. And therefore I know that it's a positive thing. And I look forward to everyone telling me what they've learned about themselves, and sharing, and then this world can just radiate. It's exciting.
It is exciting. You literally
Mm.
radiate it yourself. So it's something that you live, and that's why I love hearing from you on what do you think, because you're living it. You're living that radiation of joy and love, and you exude that in your energy.
Mm.
And it's something that I want everyone to be able to step into, and for it to be honored in everyone, because I think it's great that we have seminars, retreats. Those are definitely helpful in like pushing you forward, like anywhere where
Mhm.
you were stuck before, quote unquote, because I think every part of our journey is meaningful and valid, but and valuable, but where you felt limited or held back, it's like those types of moments, plant ceremonies, all of those
Mhm.
help, like I feel like just like almost like catapult you, like forward.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's the day-to-day routines. And so I was going to ask you, what are some ways that you do to like connect in and
Mhm.
honoring your divinity, because that's something that I know is on your heart to share, of like we need to realize who we are, and how do we connect with that? How do we connect with our own divinity?
Mhm. Well, first of all, I want to recognize that everybody is perfect where they're starting. There's no
Yes.
wrong place to start.
Yep.
And if you're privileged enough to know what love is, then you're being called. You're being called to show up in a different way because there are people on this planet who never experience love.
Yeah. It's
So if you
amazing.
can start from that area, that place of you're privileged, and I just got chills because we were given that love for a reason. And
Yeah.
if you're not showing up in your divine healthy love space, you have to figure that out because it's your it's your job. I mean, and you're going to be miserable. You're going to be
Yeah.
miserable if you are looking for some savior because it's
Yeah.
in you.
Yeah. All you need is already within you.
And if you've experienced love, I mean, nobody's childhood's perfect, nobody's situation is perfect, but if you have the space to ask about your divinity, and you're in a place where you're like, I want the world to be a better place, I want to live a better life, you have to realize that you've been privileged to even ask that question.
Yeah. So
So
good.
start there. That's big gratitude and
Hmm.
responsibility.
Hmm.
But it's okay if you're not feeling like you can show up in that vibration every day. So you have to give yourself grace,
Yeah.
but just own that part that you know what love is. So it's your duty to share and
Hmm.
to reconnect to that love because it's in you. So however you need to do it. I love to start my day just with like going through my body and just thanking every part of my body. And I thank my eyes, I thank my breath, I thank my muscles, and I thank God that I got another day
That's
because life
amazing.
is fragile. You're not guaranteed another day. You're not guaranteed another minute. So, and then I call on the angels and I ask them to show me this day and what I can, help me live the highest expression of the day. And that's how I start. And some days it's tough. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm like this. I can get into this field of being this beacon of light and like, but I sometimes I have to really like work at it because it's
Yeah.
not always easy. And sometimes I cancel appointments because I can't get there, but it's okay, right? Because we just have to do our best.
Right.
So, because I live it doesn't mean I'm perfect.
Right.
So,
Living it doesn't mean perfection. Living means
right.
you're living it. Like you're being real, and authentic. It's not
Mhm.
happy-go-lucky every day. Some
No,
days are really
sometimes,
difficult.
yeah, sometimes the door is slammed on my face, but the more you can live in that space of saying, okay, this is uncomfortable. What about it's uncomfortable? Why do I feel frustrated? Like, 'cause that's my main thing. Frustration, when that
Yep.
shows up, I know that something's off. And
Yeah.
it might just be me recalibrating to what my value is. So if you don't know what you value, if you can't list off the top 5 things that you value, you need to go to figure out what you value.
Yes.
And those can change. It's not like it's not you set your 5 values and that's your whole life. Like
Yeah.
it changes. So don't think like some people are like, oh, you're vegan, you're never going to eat cheese ever. It's like crazy. Like we
Right.
can't put ourselves in these boxes. These divisions they're maddening to me. So like just because just know what you value. And
Yeah.
like even in my book, I have a way to discover your values, and then you can circle different ones, and then you put your 5 in a star, and those are your star values. So it's really fun to like find out what really makes you tick. And so if you're frustrated and you go to your values and be like, oh, I value being accepted and I don't feel heard right now. So then you can say, honey, you're sort of ignoring me and you're watching the football game, and this is a core value. I need to be heard. Like, and that's totally different from like, slamming the remote down
Yes.
or whatever we could do to get attention. Because I used to be the classic. I'd be like, oh, he's going to ignore me, so I'm going to ignore him more. And then it's
Yes.
just like that does
Yes.
not work. Like
Yeah.
energy doesn't work. Once I figure out how energy and vibration works, I'm like, oh, I have to give what I want to receive. I have to put myself in that state. So if I'm feeling lack of attention, I need to express how much I like attention. Like it's a totally
Yes.
different paradigm. And even with your kids, you can be like, you know what? I want to spend more time with you, but we got some laundry. So if we all help, we can get this done and do something fun. And all of a sudden, you have a cavalry of help.
Yes.
Not because you yelled at them and told them that they're lazy, because you said, "Hey, you mean so much to me. Let's go do something fun. But first, we got to finish this."
Mhm.
And it just
Mhm.
makes your life, when you know your values are, you can center everything around that. And sometimes you might not get the response you want, but at least you had hope and a
Yeah.
purpose for, you felt that frustration and you used it instead of creating more frustration. Like you transmute
Yes.
it. You say,
Yeah.
okay, feel it. I'm going to change it. I'm going to send that shit out into the universe because I don't need that anymore. I have a new life and I'm making my choices based on my love, acceptance, gratitude, all your values.
Yeah.
So it's not a subscription, it's not a prescription of A, B, and C, but it is sort of a framework, that you can rely on.
Because then you're living more aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're really aware of like, huh, this is triggering some sort of like abandonment or, rejection, feelings in me. I'm having this reaction to my husband or my partner, spouse, or whoever, or a friend watching a movie and never looking over,
Yeah,
never checking in with me. Like they're just completely zeroed in on the TV and who am I and why am I even sitting on the couch next to you? So
right.
like why
It's
is that? Why is that
mm-hmm.
bringing things up? And so if you're aligned with your values, I feel like it opens up more of a conversation of awareness of why something is even arising in you that, maybe needs to be healed or shifted or removed or embodied, integrated. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
need to realize like I'm loved no matter how someone treats me. Love is not defined by how I'm treated, spoken to, looked at, noticed. Love is love. Like my
Love is
worth is
love.
not defined. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Love is love. I'm always loved. I always am love. I am that energetic currency of the universe. I am that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
even exchange in human form of
Yeah, and the
love.
the divine feminine is, if you can connect to that, that's your all is love. It's the
Mhm.
Marys, the Magdalene, Mother Mary. I mean, they are Mother Isis. I mean, she gets a bad rap sometimes, but she's
Mhm.
unconditional love for yourself. And, if people aren't making choices around you that resonate with you, you have the choice to say, hey, I think I'm going to go do some, I'm going to go meditate. If you're going to just watch this movie and be a zombie, it's okay. Like that's what you need to do. But I'm going to
Right.
go feed my soul with some heart frequency radio that I'm going to stream. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
could do a meditation. Like, if they're not reciprocating any kind of whatever you want, that frees your time up to go do something else. It's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
ooh,
I'm
give
gonna
me
go get
10
out in
minutes.
nature, not sit on a couch in an apartment or a home all day. I'm just gonna,
Yeah,
yeah.
just get
And then
out.
there's some days where you want to veg. and you want to curl up with a
Mhm.
really fluffy blankie and
Mm.
watch movies,
And have
you
some
know?
tea. Yeah. I know the
Yeah.
last week I was like, oh, I think my husband was watching football and I was just so tired of football. And I lit some candles. I made a bath. I didn't even tell him. I just disappeared into our bathroom.
I
And
love it.
we had the best night. He came in, he's like, whoa, what's going on in here? And I was like, oh, I'm just chilling, you know. It was like we had the best night. And it wasn't because I was like, oh, I'm going in the bathroom. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm just gonna sneak away and do my thing. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean it takes a while to not be a victim and to recognize if you're being a victim.
Yeah.
But it's a journey. It's I've been married 22 years now, and so I've divorced a lot of parts of myself that I like that's not going to build a healthy marriage. And and it's a lot of work, but it's worth it when you can reflect the things in your heart to
Yeah.
that other soul, because we all make these contracts with each other, and it's up to us to try to navigate what we're going through. And maybe it's, I write about my book, maybe it's time to move on, or maybe you repair something that could be better. But
Yep.
it's just that constant, you're moving up in a spiral, and you're never going to fall as far flat on your face as when you started, because you're constantly moving a little bit higher every time. So
That's so good. I was going to ask you, whether just from your own experience or your angels, or just what are some things that you felt like, because 22 years is that's a long time. I mean, that's a long time to be with somebody. I myself have only been with someone for 5 years, so I can't imagine 22. And there's so much that is learned in relationship that you don't learn when you're single. And so I'm currently single and loving it, but I know that it's like until you have a separate pair of eyes on you in your life and all the things, like there's just so much reflected back to you that's so good and so helpful in our journey. And so I wanted to ask you if you don't mind sharing, or if there's any nuggets of wisdom from your angels, your guides. Um, what were some things that you felt like really needed to be let go, divorced, as you said, in order
Mhm.
to step into more unity and more oneness, more love, within yourself and within your partnership?
Oh, that's sort of an easy one. It's the idea that things have to be perfect. Like, I used to think that everything, like I was, when we're little girls, we play with our doll houses and we get
Absolutely.
everything in this little place and we're like, oh.
Absolutely.
And so
100.
once once you let go of everything being perfect, and you just sort of live for the yummy moments and let go of that false narrative that things are ever perfect. Nothing's ever perfect. Thank God, we'd be bored. I
Yep.
mean, you've seen the Truman Story. He's so bored. Like,
So bored.
he's so bored.
It's like, where's the
So,
storm? Where's the chaos? Yeah.
right, like touch the end of the universe, because we we need these challenges. That's why we're here. I mean, if we numb ourselves or try to pretend like things are always happy and perfect, and it's an exercise in insanity, basically. So once I got rid of the idea that things need to be perfect, I stopped being self-critical,
Mm,
because I was trying to micromanage our family life and the house and chores, and all that stuff doesn't matter. It's how you're showing up for each other,
yeah.
and it comes back to values. But you have to realize when you're being critical to your spouse that you're really critical on yourself. They're a
Yeah.
mirror. They're an
Hmm.
absolute mirror. And I have such honor for my husband, because he put up with so much. Like, he's such a good husband and dad. And I was really hard on him for several years, because I didn't get it, but I was miserable. The more I tried to control everything in my life, the more miserable I got. So I asked God, I said, what can I do? I asked my angels to come in and help me, and I accepted the healing. And that's the other thing. You have to know that you deserve the help.
Yes. That's huge.
Mhm.
Worthiness. Yeah.
Yeah, worthiness. Yeah.
Wow. That's so good. Um, I love that. I love the fact too that your partner Like, and I've always valued this even in any of my partnerships where it's like, man, I'm a mess right now and I'm probably not so fun to be around, but you're like just I even feel like this with my dog is like, dude, you're here. Like, thanks for being here. Thanks for being here when I'm mad or upset or being a jerk or
Oh
you know,
yeah, like
having
I
a
can be a
moment.
total bitch. Like there's certain days like my hormone fluctuations. Like I started collecting my data on this little app, and I was like, oh yeah, 5 days before this, I'm going to be a complete bitch, and I know it. And I'll be like, Mitch, it's my time. And I said, no, it's nothing against any Susans out there, but I'll say Susan is showing up. Susan, Susan is real, and she's a fiery bitch.
I love that.
So it's good, but yeah, we laugh. We
I
it's,
mean, you have to because it's like, dude, hormones are real and
are.
it's like being a woman is real. I had been on this is totally off subject, but whatever, we'll fly with it. I was on birth control for I think 6-ish years and man, if I had known what birth control alone does, now I mean, I did it for several reasons. You know, pregnancy prevention was one of them, but also like I was having just crazy hormonal like acne, like cystic awful acne.
Mhm.
um and so I was like I at first went on it before I was even in a relationship to try to regulate my hormones, but if I had known like what that stuff does to our cycles, and I'm not
Mhm.
even like a hormone expert, I doubt you are, but we're kind of experts of our own bodies, you know, because we experience it. But I didn't even realize that it kind of numbs you out in a sense, like hormonally, because it is trying to balance you. But I had no
Mhm.
idea that we actually need those ups and downs, you know?
Mhm.
We need those fluctuations in our cycle every week. And I had no idea. And like, even I was listening to someone else, like another podcast or a clip of something, and she was saying she's a doctor and she was saying gosh, I wish I could remember her name, but she was saying like like that week before your period you should, and the week of, you should not be doing like hit workouts, like hardcore cardio and like and you know fasting. Like you actually should increase your caloric intake by a couple hundred calories, like you actually need that. And I was like, dude, and she's like, if you don't do that, you actually, even though you're still doing what you've always been doing, you know, like you're doing your like cardio in the morning, and like for me it's like cardio in the morning, strength training, and then cardio later that night
Mhm.
because I'm trying to like lose the weight in a healthy way. But you know, like I'll do like a little walk with my little guy and then go to the gym, and then I have a Peloton. And she's like, she was basically saying like, no, like chill out on that, like more like yoga flow movements, and eat more as you feel is needed. Like don't stick to strict diet because like we need that, and you end up going into starvation mode if you don't, and then you're really struggling to get out of that. So I just find us fascinating, like it's like we
It's
are,
real, and I
it's
that
real.
is so awesome to hear that. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just like
that
no matter where you are in your journey, if you're like postmenopausal, premenopausal, menopausal, or not menopausal, non-menopausal, I don't know what the other word for that is, but it's like, dude, it doesn't matter, like even throughout our entire lives, and even for men, but especially for women, we have hormonal, and it's not imbalance. It literally is just cycling through. And so our bodies are amazing, and it's really hard. Like that's, my mom was like, no PMS. Like PMS does not exist for you, Susan. You can't use that as an excuse, you know? Like there is no such thing as a Susan, a Karen, a Donna, you know, there's
no.
Maggie, there's nobody. Nobody exists for you. You are Whitney. You always are supposed to behave as Whitney. And so I
Oh.
feel like I was never able to like have a total bitch fit because I just wanted to, because I just felt like it. Like I also was a pastor's kid, so I was like always on screen, you know, is how it felt. Like my life is a living example of how everyone else should live. And so
You're
I
the
live
model
under that.
child. Oh,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
and firstborn. So like then I have a younger brother that I have to model after, you know, or he has to model after me. So
Mm.
like I felt like I never really got to have a Susan moment. But I think it's really fascinating Um, just even in that expression of like, just even like, I know this is hormonal, but it doesn't make it less valid that I
Right.
feel the way I feel, you know?
Hmm.
I think that's like something of honoring that is been difficult for me. I'm sure someone can relate.
Definitely. And I mean, even for the guys out there listening, it's worth going through the Susan moments because, these fluctuations in hormones make sex really great. Like when it's your time, when you're fertile, it's like that's
Yes.
another level that your hormones get help you reach. And
Angry sex is good.
yeah,
When you
and,
have an
and just
angry sex.
have a man understand and be like, oh,
Yeah.
you're just and
Let
call
me
you
take
out
care of
on
you.
it. Yes, you just close your mouth. It's powerful masculine energy. It's just like nothing like it. It's
Yeah, you can
amazing.
turn her real quick with the right words, with the right actions.
Have that sense of,
Woo.
quest. It's a
Yeah.
quest. It's really fun. It's a yummy. It's the stuff that you can't buy this. This is just your experience and your open heart. And it's the beauty of, I think that in the spiritual realm, we tend to not talk about sex or sensuality, but it's just as spiritual as saying a prayer. I mean, that
Hmm.
connection is it's divine and it's
Yes.
wonderful, and it's a sharing of our souls and intermingling of the souls. I was reading a book by Joseph. It's How to Kiss the Universe. Joseph
Oh,
Contact,
yes. Yes.
and he talks about in the cosmos how the souls intertwine, and the angelics actually have these intimate relationships with each other that that can parallel our human existence. We're in 3D, but it's not just an earthly thing. It's not
Right.
something limited to here. And just to know that, when we shake with joy, the whole universe gets fed. Like he was
Mhm.
talking about how that when humans have a great interconnection like that, it actually feeds the God source. I don't know if
Wow.
you read his book. He calls it loosh. It's the source energy that our souls through the silver cord connect to God, and we actually give him energy to create. And the good energy is that sexual, joy that two people just having a timeless experience together. It's
Yeah.
great. I mean,
That's
it's
amazing.
not just spiritual, it's beyond.
It's beyond
So,
that. Would you mind
mm.
even asking your angels to talk a little bit more about that? Because I know like part of our divinity is like we're trying to like live in our divinity here. But do they have anything that they would like to share on what divinity looks like outside of the human experience?
So just as we incarnate, we have these soul contracts that we're going to have relationships with different people in our lives, and it could be that we're married, or we have a moment with, or even a fantasy.
Hmm.
Fantasies can be realized at another dimension.
Wow.
So, yeah, yeah.
So my Jason Momoa fantasy can live.
Girl, it's going to be awesome. I mean, people with near death experiences, they're not sure they want to come back, and there's a reason. And that's the beauty. Like, they're telling me to use your
Mm,
imagination, be creative, because every thought that you have creates something in the cosmos. And
mm,
that we're constantly creating. And this is something that humanity has been dulled down to. And maybe,
yeah.
maybe it's, I don't know. I don't know why we've been dumbed down, but we're waking up, and they want us to know how powerful our intentions and our imaginations are. So, you can have these sensual creations in your mind of what your imagination can come up with. And when you are ready to go to when you pass on, for however it happens, you get to go to the place to review your life, and you
Mhm.
can you can have experiences outside of your body. But it's getting quiet and asking, And then, keeping your vibration at a heart level. You shouldn't do it if you're scared or if you're feeling self-critical. Um,
Mm.
but yes, they will show you, and the angels will show up as whatever you're comfortable with. So if you want to see them as winged beings, they'll show up as that. If you want to be seen as Elton John, they'll show up as Elton John. Whatever you're comfortable with
I love
is
it.
is what they will come to you. And there is an afterlife. There's our souls. We can come back. We can finish what we didn't start. But it's all about unconditional love, is what they're telling me. It's all showing unconditional love for yourself and acceptance for
Mm.
everything and everyone around you. And if you're feeling like you need to judge, that's your privilege coming through, because that person is just living their reality and it's not personal. Can't take it personally, because that's how they, whatever it was, karma, whatever they were here to bring out. Even some of these atrocities, these things that are being brought to light, are there to show us the corruption, and those people, they're pawns in the game. So you judging them and creating more division isn't going to help us ascend as humanity and what Earth needs to do. We need to figure out a way to stop the divide.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mm.
they're cheering for us, because it's not easy.
That's so
But we're
good.
yeah.
Ah, that's so good. I love that. I love the fact that it's like realizing the creative power that we have to literally not only because we always talk about manifesting, right? Manifest, manifest, manifest. Use and harness your creative power. And that is true. But the fact that we can actually experience a fantasy even that we have or that we want to create, and that doesn't have to be like a sexual fantasy, but it can be, but but we can experience those dreams that we dream, if that's a nicer word to say, but dream those dreams and experience those dreams in a different dimension reality that is not this physical human reality. We can experience both. It's not either or, one or the other. We can experience both. So that's really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah, and I do believe that we can jump timelines if we continually find the good, if we continually orient toward the highest possibility, we can shift timelines. And there's timelines that we're making all the worst choices and we're in utter hell that we're not in. But we've made these little choices, these little adjustments to do better, show up as our highest self, try to be in our soul alignment as much as we can, because when you fall out of it, it's miserable. So you might as
Yeah.
well get back into it. But when you
Yep.
make those little adjustments, you can create and jump to the higher timeline. These dimensions are all around us, and we just have to access them. It's
Wow. It's almost kind of like I see it as like a like Star Trek, or Star Wars where they hit whatever the buttons are that then they kind of like go light years ahead. And that's how I kind of see the whole like jumping, and they can go back. They can, because they're just going to different places, right? But I see dimensions or densities as that. And I see like from like the law of one gives an actual progression that you don't necessarily, like, you don't go back to like first density, like if you're a
Mhm.
third density being, you're not like going back to being a dog or a bird, although some religions do believe that. But law of one says there's kind of like a progression. Um, and in this third density experience, we're really shaking that out of like, what do we want to choose, service to self or service to others? And neither is wrong or bad. It's just two different expressions, as we said, and two
Right.
different pathways that eventually end to the one expression of truth, which is love and oneness and unity. So eventually if you're service to self, you eventually polarize back to what is considered the positive or love path, love of others path. But love of self is not wrong. It's just a different expression. It's a different experience. But I find that fascinating. But dimensions and densities and timelines has been something that I've heard passed around a lot, but
Hmm.
not a lot of people explain what that means. And I think a lot of people have different, ideas of what different dimensions, densities, all of, and some of those words are used interchangeably, but I wanted to see if your angels, want to explain what you mean by timelines, because I've heard there's the belief that one, you like your soul is within this body, right? Like your soul is,
Mhm.
it's not fractured out into pieces, right? That your soul is one being. It literally is a being in a physical form in this body, in your body right now. But that there would be timelines, meaning that there's different times happening, kind of like guitar strings or piano strings. If you opened up a piano, it's like a bunch of strings, all these different notes that you can play together or play singularly, right?
Mhm.
So that's how I've heard it. But I've also heard it done where it's like, no, you're just like, you're literally fractured out, and you're having multiple experiences at the same time. You're just not aware of it, because you're in this one, but you're also in another one. You just don't know that you are. And so there's different, right? Like
Right.
ideas of that. What's your take? What's the angel's take?
They say there's no way in our human form we can understand it.
Okay.
Like it's just not comprehensible. But I don't know if you've seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No.
That movie tries to address it.
Okay.
And and to me it's like the closest thing to help me visualize
Yeah.
what it is, because in the ether, when in or the intergalactic, whatever you want to call it, when our soul leaves our body, there's no time there,
Right.
there's no space.
Yeah.
And yes, our souls can be in multiple places at the same time, having different adventures. So it's it's all about getting to your soul essence of what your purpose is here, because we're here, we're having this experience here on earth for a reason, and this earth is going through this ascension, and we're feeling highs and lows, and even though it's fun to talk about where our soul might be having an adventure in Wormville, or she has this in the movie, there's a place where everyone's fingers are like hot dogs. And it's just like, it is the craziest movie. I was watching it on a plane. I was like, I hope that people don't think I'm nuts for watching this movie. It's like,
That is
it's
kind of an interesting movie to watch on a
wild.
plane of
Yeah.
all places.
But I've been wanting to watch it, and it was on Amazon, and then it was off of Amazon, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had the moment to watch it, so I was like, I gotta
Might as
watch it.
well.
So yes, this Asian woman owns a dry cleaning, or a cleaning business, laundromat, and she's struggling, but then she gets pieces. She can jump from different lives, different
Wow.
timelines, and so it gives you a view of what potentially could be. And they do, there is this idea that the angelics do help movie producers write and produce movies
Yeah,
to help us understand.
absolutely.
So that's pretty fun. So
Yeah.
yeah, that movie is, you have to look at it with an open mind. And like, I don't even think I'd have my husband watch it, because he'd be like, what the hell is this? But
I love it.
if you look at it through that lens of what if there is this universe where everyone has hot dog hands? Like, why not? Like, I think that's sort of fun to think about, but we do need to finish what we're here for on earth. And it's basically, it's entertainment, and it's enlightening to go there, but it's
I
just a
think we can get
distraction.
distracted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
distracted.
Yeah. I find a lot of that is also this need to escape, you know?
Mhm.
And so there is like a healthy bit of like what the angels were saying of using your creative, imaginative, abilities, which is innate in all of us, um, that's great to do, but not from a place of, I want to escape where I am right now, and so I'm just
Mhm.
going to go off. That's what a lot of people use plant medicine for, other drugs for, alcohol for. That is not going to necessarily help you in where you are right now in your journey, right? It's like this,
Mhm.
the whole point is to connect. And so the feminine energy helps us do that. It helps us connect, be in the present moment, honor that expression and whatever you're feeling and whatever's going on, whatever's being brought up in that flow. And
And yeah, and how we can nurture and make this world
yeah,
just like, we don't want anyone to suffer. We don't want anyone to be oppressed. We don't want any control. The divine feminine just wants everyone to just be loving and caring for each other. And, it's yeah, I'm excited for this year because we are going back to the age of Aquarius,
so
and the
good.
divine feminine is being brought more forward. And not that the masculine's wrong, but it's just a cycle, and we're
Mhm.
here for a different cycle, and I'm excited.
It's going to be really fun. Really fun. And
Mhm.
I, even this year, numerologically wise, it sums up to 7. And 7 is like that. It's a spiritual number, right? It's got that
Mhm.
mystic 7, but it's also the number of completion, like coming full
Mhm.
circle and completion. And so next year is going to be 8, which is
Ah,
going to be
infinity. Infinity
infinity,
is awesome.
new beginnings. I just really feel like we are kind of, this is kind of that year of like just really full circle, coming full
Mhm.
circle and really completing things. And so, if there's anything in our hearts, in our minds, in our bodies, in our lives that we want to just kind of wrap up and say, okay, cool, next season, new season is
Mhm.
coming, infinity and beyond is coming. So,
Yay.
I want to wrap that, and I want to complete this cycle or this season of my life. I want to move on to something new. You have the creative ability to do that, which is really fun.
Too.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Yay.
That's so awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. Where can people find you? And I know you have a wonderful book and you have
Oh,
a
yeah.
wonderful podcast. Where can people find you and connect with you?
Yeah, well, my website is youneedapeptalk.com. I've had that for a
Mm.
long time, even before I wrote the book. I had this vision I was going to have this place where people could like support each other if you're going through a day, and
Aw.
but that never took off. But I needed the platform. I created the vessel, the space for all my creative, what I wanted to put out in the world. So youneedapeptalk.com has a link to my podcast and my book, and my book's Life of Love, A Joyful Guide to Self and Sensuality. And it's available on Amazon. And I just recorded the audiobook. So you can listen to me reading the book, which that's wild because I never expected to read my book out loud.
So
And you'll
cool.
see when you listen to it, you're like, oh my God, she's saying this. it's
I love
it's
it.
it's raw. It's personal. So
Love
I was like,
it.
Mom and Dad, you love me no matter what, right?
It's one of those.
Yeah.
I love it. Getting real.
They knew it was coming. I've been throwing them
I
stuff.
love it. It's
I'm
a
this
different thing
sweet.
to write than to
Hmm.
speak it. Yeah?
Right, right. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a moment. So yes, so yeah, if you want to check out my podcast, it's the same name as my book, Life of Love, A Joyful Guide to Self and Sensuality. And you have to type in the whole thing because there's another Life of Love book.
Oh
so,
gosh. Okay.
so
Duly noted.
it's a joyful guide because we have fun. I have a good time. And
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so thank you so much. This has been an absolute joy. And the
It's so
angels are
fun.
clapping, they're cheering us on.
I love it. I love it. We're clapping back
Yes,
in a
thank
positive
you.
way.
Thank you, angels.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you
Mhm.
so much, Julie.